Hello, welcome everyone. We'll just give it maybe one more minute for everybody to log on first, and then we'll make a start soon. Okay, it's now 5 p.m. Melbourne time, so let's make a start. Before we jump into today's presentation, I'd just like to make sure that we do an acknowledgement of country. ACS acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we gather here today across Australia. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. And we also acknowledge their ongoing connection to land, sea, and community, and of course extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. Just a little bit of housekeeping. In terms of questions, if you do have any questions, please feel free to post your questions either in the chat or the Q&A sections of the Teams webinar. Of course, we also will have some dedicated time to do Q&A as well. I do have a team of colleagues here who will be monitoring the chats and Q&A and try to answer any questions as we go as well. This session is recorded, and the recording of the webinar as well as today's slide deck will be shared with you via email after the event. And also, we're keen to hear what you think about the event today and the presentation. So please look out for an invitation to participate in our post-event survey. It will only take a minute to do. A quick intro of myself. I'm your host today. My name is Lamo. I'm the operations manager for the Professional Year program here at ACS, and I'm located in Melbourne. We've also got a couple of guest speakers that I'm really keen to introduce you to later on to sort of dive deeper into the internship experience as well. So about today's session, this is webinar 2 of a series of 3 webinars. Last month, we got to do a really deep dive into the ACS Professional Year and IT program as a whole. And today, we really want to spotlight on the internship component of it. So I'll do a quick intro and welcome you all, and then provide you an overview of what is the Professional Year and IT program. And then I'd like to take you to have a closer look at the internship component of the PY program. And of course, we'll make sure that there is time for my favorite part of these webinars, which is the guest panel discussions, where we have special guests to come in and really talk about that internship experience in the program. And of course, towards the end, we'll make sure we have some time to do Q&A and wrap up as well. Hopefully all of us here are familiar with who we are, but as ACS, we represent over close to 50,000 IT professionals in Australia. What we focus on doing as well is really about setting the standards, assessing and developing the skills and the experience of our technology professionals. We're also really focusing on creating a healthy career pipeline of talent for Australia in terms of tech skills and knowledges. And of course, there's the migration aspect of things, where we assess and support skilled technology migrants to really help support that critical skill shortages in Australia. So myself and the Professional Year program, we sit under the ACS Migration Pathways. In terms of our Migration Pathways team, there is plenty that we do, and a lot of you might be familiar with the skill migration, the skill assessment required for skill migration stream. But of course, within our team, there is also the Professional Year program, which you're here to hear more about today. The focus is really about employment outcome for ACS and particularly when we think about our international students and our international migrants, and how do we connect the skills of our international student and graduates and migrants into the communities here in Australia. So before we dive deeper into the professional year program, I think it's just be important for me to clarify for everybody that I'm not a representative or migration agent or legal practitioner. So the information that I do present here today is really designed to give you the current information as of today and provide you that general understanding of the migration pathways through the professional year program. So I highly recommend for anyone who do have a specific questions around migration to Australia that you go to the Department of Home Affairs website, and also of course the OMARA website, where you can source reliable registered migration agents to provide you specific advice. So let's talk about the ACS Professional Year program. You may hear me refer it as PY in terms of the acronyms Professional Year. The PY program was really created by Home Affairs back in 2008, and the point of it is to help international students and recent graduates transition into the Australian workforce as these individuals prepare and enter into that skilled migration stream. So there are 3 professions that are gazetted by Home Affairs to deliver the professional year program. You've got engineering and then also accounting, and of course for IT profession, the program is gazetted. Home Affairs ACS, sorry, ACS is the gazetted body to deliver the program. And why is this program an option for a lot of our international students and graduate? It really, at the core of it, the program is a job readiness program that bridges the gap between full-time studying and employment in Australia's tech sector. So the ACS PY program includes a 32 weeks of classroom-based work readiness training. The curriculum look at equipping our graduates with the essential Australian workplace skills. We're talking about legal compliance, safety, communication, client services, everything from teamwork to those soft skills, and also your own career development as well. After the classroom-based training, it is time then to go into a 12-week of local IT internship. The internship aims to provide you hands-on experience and an opportunity to network professionally. And of course, for a lot of our participants, the importance of potentially securing a reference from your host company that helps set you apart in this competitive job landscape, particularly for a lot of the early career starters. Along with the internship, something that is quite unique for ACS that we offer to PY participant is a 13-week online career mentorship and IT skills development journey. We call it Professional Environments Online Course, or PE Online. It is delivered by us, by ACS, and our team of mentors. This online course provides you with personalized guidance and really help you develop your professional skills and focusing on your tech career and keeping you staying up to date with all the industry trends. And of course, participant of the PY program also receive a complimentary ACS membership for 12 months as well. Completing a professional year in IT has plenty of benefits, but I think some of the key ones is number one, it is part of an option for those who are looking to migrate to Australia. So essentially, you can be part of the solution to tackle the tech skills shortages that Australia is facing, and continue to see that gap widening. You have an opportunity to enhance those IT skills and knowledge to stay competitive in the job market. Connect connect with industry professionals, move beyond the classroom when it comes to really thinking about your career outlook, and being part of the workforce. And the program offer you opportunities to have specific job search strategy, working on your resume, gain exposure and experiences in that interview preparation. Ultimately is to help you secure employment, skilled employment, in Australia. And of course, being a program that is created by the Home Affairs, graduate of the PY program could also claim 5 points towards their skill migration under an eligible IT skilled occupation. There are entry requirements to get into the program, to make sure that you are the right fit and it's suitable for you. In a nutshell, you need to, of course, have the right visa that gives you full work rights and study rights. Typically, that's a 485, a graduate visa for most of our participants. And of course, your qualification from the Australian university or institution needs to be an IT major at a minimum of bachelor degree or higher. There is an English language requirement, as well as a need for you to complete an interview with the education provider, which delivered the PY program in partnership with us, to make sure that you are the right fit for the program and can commit to the 45 weeks of program delivery. Currently, we do offer professional year across all states and territory. We have 7 accredited PY providers across more than 20 locations. And what we also have is a wonderful guide on supporting those of you in considering what questions you need to ask yourself, and also when you are choosing the appropriate provider for yourself, what questions should you ask the provider, or maybe your education agent if you are applying through an agent. So let's take a closer look at in the internship component. So remember, the program essentially starts with a 32 weeks of classroom training, and you must complete that training before you actually can start the internship. But the journey and the preparation actually start well beyond when you start that classroom training. I will look at it in probably 3 phases. So phase 1 is the preparation part. So before you actually enroll to start the program, there is a pre-enrollment interview that we just talked about as part of the entry requirement. And the interview is really to ensure that to make sure that you are aware of the commitment level, the time commitment, the expectation of studying the program, but also as an opportunity for the PY provider to assess and discuss your background, your goals, understand what is your internship preferences, and address any work restrictions for you. This makes sure that you are well prepared for the next phase of internship placement. And it also helped the provider to sort of understand what are your needs, what are your interests, and provide the best support that they can in placing you in an internship. When you start your 32 weeks of classroom delivery, there are a lot of activities that are specifically designed to prepare you for a successful internship placement. So this start from attending an internship information session with your PY provider to learn more about the process, understand what are the requirements, through to receiving the info pack around internship. This is where you get all the necessary documents and guidelines, and become really, really familiar with what are the policies, what are the expectations of you, but also the providers and your future host company as well. And towards the end of that classroom training, this is when you would attend a pre-placement interview. And the point of the pre-placement interview with your PY provider is really to discuss your skills, your preferences. And by that point, you had a really good opportunity to to have absorbed a lot of those learning around Australian workplace through this classroom training, that it's an opportunity to really sort of rehash and practice what you have learned as well. The next phase is, of course, the matching in placement. So this is when your internship placement team at the provider side work very hard to make sure that they find a match for you. This can include opportunity to sit down and interview with the host company, or maybe they host activities and events where you get to meet local companies and engage with them as well. When you do find a match and it's the right place for you to do your internship, then you'll proceed to finalize all the paperwork and sign your internship contract. And that is when you're looking at being ready to then start your internship. So the internship is minimum of 12 weeks. We'll go through a little bit more on, what are the commitment level for you to excel. But what you can expect in the first week, for example, is you get onboarded, just like any similar to getting onboarded into a new role. You are introduced to your team, the company culture, and your workspace by your host company. And this is really an important chance for you to ask questions and get yourself settled in. And throughout the internship, you get to immerse yourself in real-world IT projects, observe daily workplace operations, and under the guidance of your supervisor, you apply what you learn from the classroom and develop those develop them into actual industry skills and experiences. It's really important as well is that the removal of no longer being in the classroom, having an instructor, it's an opportunity for you to develop those soft skills like problem solving, communication, and teamwork in a workplace, and particularly in the Australian workplace. And of course, your supervisor will also provide you with feedback to help you track your progress and identify if there's any areas for improvements as well. So I want to also take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what you should ask yourself if you're ready, and also what you should set yourself, how you should set yourself up for success. I think it's really important to know the support is around, is all around you, and there are processes all around to make sure that it is a good experience for all PY participants, but ultimately you drive your career development. And I just thought I'd really want to touch on some of the key elements to having a successful internship experience. Of course, the first one is having the right attitude when it comes to committing to do well. So like I said, the internship is about 12 weeks. Minimum requirement is 12 weeks, and in terms of the workload is a minimum of 220 hours. So usually we find that a lot of the participants, they get placed in an internship that is about maybe 3 days or 2.5 days to 3 days per week. Now, it's important to remember that all parts of the professional year program, so that is from the 32 weeks classroom training through to your internship and any online courses that you're doing, you have to do that in Australia onshore, because that is a requirement as part of the program being gazetted by the Home Affairs. And you have to show up. Your 100% attendance is a must. And if something has happened and you can't make it, then you will have to make up the time that you missed. And again, I think everything I want to talk about here is really comes down to how much ownership are you going to take for developing your career and taking charge of your career here, kickstarting that off the right foot. And of course, like I mentioned, we as ACS, we put a lot of measures to make sure that you have the support system that you need. So again, your provider will be really your first go-to point when you come across any questions that you might have or any support that you might need. But also, what we do ask in the program are these check-ins and reviews to really make sure that the providers are checking in with you at least mid-internship to really talk about your progress and your experience so far. This is a chance for you to then share what you've accomplished, what challenges you've met, and the areas that you want to focus on in the remaining weeks of your internship. And of course, when you finish your internship, there is also a final review with your PY provider to talk about that experience and reflect on the skills that you've developed and how you've grown professionally. And this is you can say it's a checking system, but it's also a really important way for you to capture your triumphs, your development, and also all the new experience that you have. Because I guarantee you, the next job interview you go to, you'll be asked, tell me about a time where you encounter something, and don't forget to reflect and really consider and really sort of consider all the experience you gain, whether they're difficult or easy, they turn into your story, your career story. Of course, the efforts that you put in is going to also help you as well. So in terms of securing an internship, I think some of the key ones that I would highlight is that not only make sure your CV stand out, but also be honest in your CV. So if you're talking about certain technical skills that you have or abilities that you have, you better make sure you can demonstrate them and explain that and apply that when you are doing your internship. Another really important point I'll also call out is try to be open-minded and be flexible, because that means you will have more opportunities. Now, your providers are going to work hard on really trying to find your interests and find the right a role that's suitable in a industry that's suitable for you. But if you can open up yourself to various roles, then you actually open up yourself to learning new things. The tech career is a very dynamic one. And if you limit yourself now, you're going to find that you have a fairly narrow path forward. Of course, during your internship, please be proactive. And I think one of the biggest feedback we get from a lot of our host companies, or when we do consultation with industry and employers, is about the level of initiatives a lot of our the interns or the graduates that they can demonstrate. Ask questions, ask for feedback. Those are techniques that's going to really make sure that you are checking in with yourself and you have that level of self-awareness. You might have a brain full of knowledge, textbook knowledge, but you really need to then have what's going to bridge you between your knowledge and career development is really that attitude of that growth mindset of you're willing to keep learning. Take this opportunity to build relationships, network with your colleagues, and attend events, participate in any team activities. It may not be specifically relating to coding or website building, but career development also happens when you actually have a relationship and have that personal relationship with your teammates and your workplace. It's important to set goals and don't forget to set them and then check in with them as well. So hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea on, I think it's important to have an idea on what the process is like, but it's probably more important that I really want to convey today is ask yourself the level of your readiness and think about how you actually play the most important role in having a successful internship in the PY program. And of course, don't forget us. You do get a complimentary membership with ACS for 12 months of you doing the PY program. And for some of you, you may already be a student member and you hopefully have some exposure to the benefits of being an ACS member. But I think the important aspect of of having that membership is actually go and use it and really be familiar with what is on offer to you. I think particularly the ACS career platform, where it's sort of offered a lot of the members, particularly our early career starters, access to career advice, job seeking content, insights into working with any specific companies. It's a really good resource to find internships and graduate positions from our professional partners and members seeking to employ tech graduates as well. And of course, being a member, you would also have access to Skillsoft, which is a learning platform. The online library has over 35,000 digital resources, from developing your soft skills like communication, leadership skills, up to understanding how to prepare for vendor IT certificate. Members have unlimited access to that platform as well. Hopefully I've been able to sort of highlight, the benefits of, or you've been able to kind of consider what are the benefits of doing an internship. The most important one for a lot of our graduates, it is that local experience that they can put on their CV, they can go into a job interview and really talk about. And of course, for most of us here, having been international students, having grown up in another country, another region, the workplace dynamic is a very different one. And this program really aims to help you develop the tools and the awareness that you need to thrive in the Australian work environment. An opportunity to network beyond your lectures, your classmates, but actually network in a real professional settings. Enhance your resume, strengthen your references that you can get for your job application, and of course, career guidance. When you're doing the internship, as you can see, there's a whole network of support around you, and utilize that, because as you advance your career, you will find that the need to actually take charge of your career become more and more a solo activity and task, rather than enjoying the benefit of a network of support. I'm very happy to report that our most recent last year of our destination survey to measure the impact of employment of our professional year program, that we see over 60% of the graduates secure an IT role in Australia within the 3 to 6 months of completing the program. And that's out of about 97% of them all actually secure full-time working in Australia. And I'm very happy to also share that we just recently released a new guide to PY internships. So yeah, feel free to download that QR code and have a look at the information that I would have presented here today. So now let's get into my favorite part of these webinars, which is I don't just have to talk at you. I get to talk with our guest panelists as well. So I would like to introduce you to our special guests today. We have Shatika Rodriguez, who has been a host company, an intern host company partner of one of our PY provider for some time. Shatika have been leading the talent acquisition function for Reflex Technology Group for a few years now. And her experience, 13 years of experience in spanning from recruitment to HR and across, of course, various industry and globally as well. I'm really pleased to have her here because she's someone who have really a great deal of insights from the entire recruitment lifecycle that she could really share with us, but also that added insight into hosting interns, particularly professional year interns. And of course, we also have David, who's a I believe you just recently finished your internship for the Professional Year program. David is a cybersecurity graduate from Deakin University, having arrived in Australia since 2015. And through the PY program, he got to intern at Blue Connections IT, particularly in the security operations role. And of course, that provided him the opportunity to really experience and practice, sharpen his capability with using tools like Proofpoint, and I think there's one called Sophos. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. And I'm really grateful David is here today, for someone who's, passionate about IT, cybersecurity, and who's also agreed, quite eager to share his experience with everybody here today. So welcome you both. Okay, so I think it would be good to sort of jump into an opening question, something to sort of break the ice a little bit. I guess let's start with something a little bit simple. So, I'm after, in one sentence, if you could describe the biggest surprise that you've encountered in, David, in the internship placement, and of course, Shatika, in hosting an intern compared to what you expected at the start. So maybe I'll start with you first, Shatika. What's the biggest surprise compared to what you expected about hosting an intern versus actually hosting intern?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Lamo. And I would really like to personally thank ACS for giving us this opportunity as an organization to be a part of this panel and being able to speak to so many people out there. Well, the biggest surprise as a recruiter for me, of course, is the fact that when we initially have that conversation going with PY candidates, they come across as people who might be, aspiring to be an IT professional down the line, and they might be a bit, skeptical. They might be a bit nervous, yet molding themselves and preparing themselves for the bigger challenges which lie ahead. But during those 12 weeks, we actually see them evolve as professionals who come out of their shell, are open to change, they learn, and successfully placing so many candidates. I'm really proud to say that when we hire these candidates, they come across as people who have worked really hard in the first place to be able to reach here. So a big pat on all the backs of all the people who have been able to register and to reach this place in the first place. So yeah, I think the biggest surprise is the way they evolve and come across as professionals, proving all of their fears wrong and achieving what they had planned to achieve as a full-time role, from an internship to an IT opportunity, which is a full-time given role. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much. And what about you, David? What surprised you the most compared to what you were expecting, and when you now that you've just finished your internship?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks Lamo and the ACS for this opportunity with this panel. For my personal experience, there's actually a significant gap between from university studying about cybersecurity, all that knowledge, and then moving forward into the internships. But because while I attend the PY is given me many opportunities to build up connections and prepare myself to the actual internships. I think that was very useful from my end. Especially during the internships, it's more about building connections and communicate within the teams. It is expected that you not knowing everything, and it is good things you seek out questions, being proactive. I think is a very good point.
Yeah, awesome. And I think it is often I think of myself, it was many moons ago when I finished my university study, but the shock of it, the level of how tired I was, because I wasn't, at first it was a completely different environment, but then also just how much my brain was teased to just have to think more than just answering a question, doing my assessment, but really it's that sensory overload of, wow, I need to be in a meeting and say something or have an input, or actually even just how to pay attention in a meeting when it's so different to like a lecture environment where, you know, I'm just there, my only job is to listen and take notes, where meetings actually require me to interact and think and then have an input. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. And I'd love to dive into that a little bit more later on. But I think what I'll start with in terms of our Q&A, the first one is really just trying to sort of start a bit broad in terms of the role of PY, the program, and particularly in the internship placement experience. I'm guessing a lot of our audience here today probably have an interest to dive into that a little bit more. Particularly, David, let's continue on with you. Can you share that experience, your in the PY program in terms of internship placement process? How did the program support you in finding an internship?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that process is actually the most valuable thing I can get out from the PY programs. So PY, so I got taken PY from Monash Uni. So during the whole process, so from the start, I got assist in building my own CV. The guidance, she showed us how to do an useful job search that like actually match with my skill set. And from there, having the ability to analyze the job descriptions, and from there draft up my own CV, and also building up a relatable, able to tell my own story in my cover letter, and
Yeah.
also got multiple panel or discussion board to practice my own interview, and it helped me and as a whole groups to build up our confidence and actually able to land an internships. And even after I graduate from the PY programs, I still can use all of those skill set, all of that tools to seek out for new opportunities. So I think that was a very, yeah, I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's you were talking about those kind of practice interviews, um and I can't tell you how many failed interviews after uni I had to live through. And you know, sometimes, you know, I still sort of go, oh my God, I can't believe, you know, 10 years ago I said this. That still haunts me, and I would have loved to have that experience of just be having someone to say, hey, let's just do some mock interviews and do a lot of it, so that, you know, you get that feedback, and when you really sit in an interview for a job or an opportunity that you want, you feel a lot more prepared. So thanks for sharing that. And Shatika, yeah, why do you decide to host interns? Isn't that more work for you?
Well, Lama, like, it's a very, let's say, funny question, as you say. I need
Yeah.
to do something, right? As a recruiter, of course. Well, but jokes apart, I do feel that hosting interns is literally a learning curve, even for myself. When we meet people, we come across different skill sets, we come across different perspectives that they get along with themselves. A fresh lens, as they say, of looking at things, and specifically in the world of IT, it keeps evolving and changing every day. So we cannot have redundant technology is existing, and hence interns help us to get that fresh thought process, fresh ideas, and education as well, in terms of whether it be cybersecurity, whether it's IT support. So an ever evolving thought process is what helps us to get the best interns across. And moreover, they help us to move forward in the right direction, to be able to innovate, progress, and grow.
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of really, I think it's the sort of comments and the feedback I do hear a lot from host companies who do host interns is it actually helps the company culture and you know, the strategic of the strategies of their talent pipeline when they host interns. It's almost like they get sort of like that first steps in, you know,
Absolutely.
what's
Yep.
the next wave of talents.
Yep.
So That's awesome to hear from you. And I want to sort of talk a little bit about the experience of internship. And this is where I think I want to dive deeper into what David was just talking about with that gap between university and real world at an actual work environment. But I'll continue on with you, Shatika, first. What do you find are the biggest difference? If looking at maybe with a fresh graduate coming out of university versus, an intern who's finished university but doing the professional year program. Do you find any sort of difference? And then our audience, a lot of them are international students right now. So, what are some of the key what stand out to you are the differences when it comes to finishing uni and then doing getting into the workforce?
Okay, now let's, first things first. The most important difference that I feel across the organizations that I've worked with, like a quick example would be, graduates versus the PY students. Now, in Reflex Technology Group, I was fortunate enough to deal with PY students, get the interns on board, offer them a career. So the major difference that I feel versus bachelors or people who've just finished their degree is the way ACS or Monash University PY people are molded in terms of their technical skills, their presentability, their professional presentability, making sure you guys work so hard for them to be able to mold them, being more professional, get the resumes in place, be more prepared for the real world, say the internship, the technical skills that they might need to be a better professional. So I do feel that when you kind of mold yourself and sit through these 32 weeks of rigorous classroom and exposure to training and technical knowledge, it helps you to be better prepared and be more professional and be more open to change and
Yeah.
understand that, okay, I have done my theory, I have done my classes, but what is it that I will get out of this internship, which is practical hands-on knowledge to be able to, get that future in the growing world of IT. So of course, when you do your bachelor's, when you do your PY, the difference is the presentability, the professionalism, the ability to be able to be open to change, and of course, the resilience to be able to keep growing because so much goes into being present. And in your slides, I really loved and really, kind of resonated with me is the commitment. Like you said, it's on them to be able to complete the classes and make sure that they are up for a commitment that they will complete those 12 weeks of internship, whether it's part-time, whether it's full-time, but they need to be able to display those characteristics and level of commitment to be able to achieve what they have started.
Yeah. Sometimes the display of the will to do something, I find in the real sort of world workplace, it shines through more than just a skill, because someone can have the skill, but then it's how you apply it and how you demonstrate you are willing to apply that. And David, let's go back a little bit. You mentioned you noticed there was a gap through what you learned at university, and you came from I think you did cybersecurity, and you were able to get an internship in that relevant field. What's the difference? Talk us through.
I would say the biggest difference is able to fit myself into the already ongoing team culture. So having that adaptivity to able to do things in a certain ways that sometimes different than what I've been studying. But also from that, I get like a different view, different perspective on things. And especially, and one of other major thing would be on the communications between different departments of the company. By during university, you pretty much maybe you communicate with your lecturer or your classmate, but never to an actual stakeholder who having the same responsibility on that project.
Yeah.
So I believe from PY able to build my professionalism in communication, could be through emails or through Teams message. I think it's like a very good thing that like I'm grateful able to be exposed already during the PY.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like able to
And
feed myself. Yep.
yeah, and it's so true. And I think talking to you really like bringing back a lot of the flashbacks for me about when I finished uni and how I navigated the early career and working in the workforce. You mentioned email, and it's so true. Like at university, I never had to learn. There was no classes to teach me how do you write an email to someone who is at a different function. Say, if I'm in security operations, but I need to talk to someone maybe in a marketing team or someone who actually don't really know exactly what I do and don't share the same value in the expertise I have, but I need to talk to them. And I certainly did not learn that at university, and it was certainly through a lot of miscommunication through emails in the actual workplace, to sort of go, okay, that's stakeholder management, how to talk to people who maybe don't speak the language, whether that's data analytics, or whether it's cybersecurity, to someone who have really that's not their background, but we work together. So that's thanks so much for sharing that. And I think I'm gonna ride on to that topic with you, David, which is let's dive a little bit deeper around skills. I love to hear, you finish your internship, you've done your final review with your PY provider on your internship and done those reflection. Can you share with us, whether it's technical skills or soft skills, or particularly industry specific skills? I can see you still have a real interest to pursue cybersecurity. What have you gained or developed through the internship? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely can. So after my end of the internship reflections, um, the my manager tell me that my technical skills and soft skill is fairly strong for that position. But there's one thing that I've been developing since the first day I start is on documentations.
Mm.
So both me and my manager, so it is a very funny story because my manager is actually so she started with me for a few years during uni. So it's like very fun accidental event. But we both agree that during uni we did not been taught much about documentation,
Mm.
especially in the cybersecurity field where documentation is actually one of those biggest things that need to be done. So, and it needs to be easy enough for other team member to follow the same procedure. So, yeah, so during the whole internships, I've been trying to get any opportunity as possible to practice myself to do documentations. Could be on an one of the example is I did one on the incident response,
Mm-hmm.
which actually my first time doing it. So
Mm.
it's actually very beneficial for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and after the internship, I've still been trying to do more documentation on things, writing up knowledge-based documents, which is like manual instructions and providing guideline on how to deal with certain security breach
Mm-hmm.
and the procedure that need to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so during the after internship, I think that is one thing about my development professionally in the security field.
Mm. Yeah, awesome. And the writing aspect, and what makes sense to you, sometimes you have to convey it in a different format, and way that makes sense to everyone else that you work with. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And Shatika, as a recruiter, as a HR person, what would share with our audience today, in terms of any specific technical skills or soft skills, and tech industry specific skills that you would, can you share some tips on what to look out for our international students and graduates here?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Lamo. For everyone across, specifically because Reflects Technology Group, we deal with the education space. So what we do is we do consulting, so to schools, aged care, healthcare. So the most important aspect of coming on board is certifications, of course, that can enhance your say marketability, how marketable you are, how presentable you are. So it's very important that a small example would be one of say the interns, my first interns who joined us in RTG. He had a bachelor's in IT and was very passionate about say coding as well, apart from just the IT support. So there could be courses. It could be you could do your ITIL, you could do your Azure, but the most important thing, Lamo, I do feel, is to be able to understand what makes you happy. So I'll give you a quick example of a question I asked my first intern. So I asked him, okay, Aryan, so how do you define success? And he goes, success to me is something which makes me happy. And believe me, he was my first intern until date. He is one of our best IT support on site who has
Yeah.
got great customer feedback. So I feel apart from the technical skills, like you could be doing your bachelor's, then you follow it with your master's degree, you do your certifications in ITIL, you could do, if you're a person who loves networking, you could do your CCNA, CCNP. If you're a person who loves to do cloud certifications, there are so many out there. It could be Azure 400, Azure 900, depending on your career framework. So for us, we are proud to say that we are committed to a constantly developing framework wherein it is all about the person being open to change, being adaptable in his internship, being able to do those certifications during the first 12 weeks, being able to be say open to understand, okay, I am good at customer support, maybe I'm good at IT support, but what is it that I'm lacking? So those are the certifications which will help them align it with what they want. So example would be if we have our applications and database team, so they would be having certifications which will be more relevant to SQL or say coding languages, whereas an IT support person will be more aligned to a generalist ITIL certification or project management, depending on where they want to grow. However, the most important technical skill, of course, is to be able to gauge what makes you happy. So, like I said, success is all about being persistent and being able to deliver on time. So
Yeah.
that's what I feel will help them achieve and do the certification, provided they know what they want. Because many a times I've seen a lot of interns, I've asked them, so what is it that you're hoping to gain out of this internship? And they go like, I want to excel in the field of IT, because they are still not sure whether they will start off as an IT support and then they find their passion in software engineering. So Australia across is an amazing country to be able to be open to a diverse culture, diverse skill set. So you might start off as an IT support, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot become a software engineer down the line. But
Yeah.
then realizing your strengths, like David said, is very important, because you do understand that, okay, my communication skills are at 2 point, but documentation in IT world, like he said, a very good example is documentation, the importance of documentation, the importance of customer feedback, the importance of communicating effectively go hand in hand. Not just the technical skills of the certification, which will make you ready theoretically, but practically you have to ensure that they both align well together, to be able
Yeah.
to open to be constructive feedback, making sure that you are on point in terms of delivering to the customer satisfaction, whoever is your client, whether it's your internal employees or external clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such good advice. And I think um um uh, I think one of the beauty and the alluring factor of coming to live and work in Australia, for me, it's really about the ability to be your authentic self. And so when you were talking about, you remember that one intern that said, I want to do what makes me happy. And it is so true, because you could tell someone is coming into an interview and everything is literally memorized
Absolutely.
to a T, and they are just kind of like replaying the tape, versus someone who truly are speaking from the heart. Like like I love our conversation today, because it is, we don't have a script. We literally are just throwing questions and conversation at each other because we care about this matter. So I think that really shines through in when we see high achievers coming out of the PY program, internship, or in landing that first professional gig, is the level of authenticity that shines through in that job search and interview. Yeah. We are almost time's up for the Q&A. I guess I was going to ask, what would be your advice to someone who's considering this path? I feel like, Shatika, you really addressed that already. I will probably finish it off with just hearing about, what's the career trajectory look like for you, David? Because, you just finished our program, and I'm really keen to hear what's next for you, and hoping this can inspire our audience as well.
Yeah. So I recently finished my internships. I believe it was last month, so it was in October, and gonna finish the PY program in. I believe it's finished next week. So time
Awesome.
actually flies very quickly. So like 1 year of PY and 3 months of internships really fly by very quick. And actually, my plans would be so during this time off, so I've still been applying for using all the tools and skill set I've been gaining from PY. Still seeking into a place in the security field. However, during this time, I already able to secure jobs in IT support. So that is my plan for my career. So from IT support, gaining enough experience to become either system admin or jump directly into security operations again.
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoy that positions during my internships.
Yeah.
And yeah, so still trying to improve myself every day, studying for new certifications. I've been using I believe it's soft skill provided by the ACS.
Skillsoft. Yeah.
Skill, yeah.
Yeah. So
Skillsoft, yeah.
yeah.
It's been providing very useful course and
Awesome.
very short, easy to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing that in my free times, and
Yeah.
hopefully it will help in my career.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I hope we continue to have you on as a member as well. So then, our engagement goes beyond just the professional year. But that's so lovely to hear. And I just love hearing, your optimism, and there's a sense of, confidence coming out of you, that you believe you can get there, and that, you think about having that confidence gives you the commitment, and that goes hand in hand, and having the commitment helps you with having that level of confidence to keep going. So I will wrap up the discussion, because we are almost time's up, but I feel like we could keep talking, but thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your insights with us. And I really, really appreciate that, and I'm sure our audience really appreciate that as well. Okay, I will continue, but this is kind of wrap up our presentation today. I'm just having a quick look at questions. It looks like my colleagues have been diligently answering all the questions. So I will, if there is any questions that we can't answer today, I will be able to download the Q&A and the chats that we can then address that in our follow-up as well. But what I do want to draw your attention to as well is that, like I said, today is the second webinar. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. You can? Okay, thank you. Today is the second webinar in a series of 3. So we do have our final webinar in this series coming up in December. And for this one, we're really talking about, today there's a key theme around being authentic, taking charge of your own career development, and have that accountability. So next week we're really going to dive deep into, in the PY program, there is this concurrent ACS online course called the Professional Environments online course, which I believe, David, is what you just said that you're going to finish very soon. It is unique to ACS and the Professional Year in IT program. It is a 13-week experience that it's you don't come out of it knowing exactly what you should do, but if you actually go through it, you come out of it with the tools and the capability to know how to develop and pave the way of your career. So please register, and I'd really look forward to seeing some of you in the next one. And in this next webinar as well, I will have a current professional year student joining us, as well as a mentor to talk through that experience as well. And then, of course, there's further downloads and publications from ACS that I think will benefit our audience, particularly for today. So please feel free to go ahead and download those as well. But we are about time's up, and I want to say a big thank you to David, Shatika, and of course my colleagues who are working on the Q&A and chats. And of course to you as well for joining me today. And thank you very much, and please have a good day. And we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lama.
Thanks, Lama. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. I'll end the meeting now. Thank you.